Hey everybody, it's Chris again from Gravy, and this video I want to focus on Google Shopping. If you're using Shopify or drop shipping, and especially high ticket items like I do, Google Shopping is probably your single biggest expense after your cost of goods sold. So what do I mean by that? You need to invest in advertising and you need to get an ROI. Obviously, to generate traffic and sales. And I'm going to show you how Google Shopping ads, especially for more expensive items, are the most effective way to advertise. I've tried many tests with Facebook, and occasionally I get some winners, but I always come back to Google Shopping ads and have them running constantly for a few $100s a day, at least, to keep steady qualified traffic. The main difference between Google and Facebook, for example, and a lot of people I think know this, but sometimes people don't realize that Google, there's shopping intent. They are actively searching, and I call them lean forward shoppers, lean forward searchers. And so they're searching for specific items. I want to buy a tent, a shed, a greenhouse. They are closer down the path to buying than somebody on Facebook who's sort of a lean back watcher, not necessarily with the intent to purchase. They're kind of cruising Facebook, looking for articles of interest, but not necessarily with an objective of buying something in mind. So let's get to it. So here are my 5 must-do Google Shopping ad optimizations. What 5 things you really need to do with Google Shopping ads to make them the most effective. Now, here's Google Shopping. You've got, I'll assume that you know how to set up a campaign and you've got a Google Merchant account and a Shopify app that will create a feed based on your products. And if not, I can answer questions on that and provide suggested apps. Shopify provides a Google Shopping app that's not great, and I actually use another one. So as you see, you get and it's very important to have your conversion tracking set up with Google Shopping ads. If you don't, then you really don't know what your profitability is and what your cost per sale will be. So it's quite straightforward. And there's in the tools area, there's a place where you can get a code, basically your pixel code, and add it to Shopify's backend. Again, that's maybe a separate video altogether in terms of setting up conversion tracking. But so, why do you want to optimize Google Shopping ads? Well, you want to maximize your ROI, and the number one way to not waste money is to build a negative keyword list. Now, that is seemingly a pretty straightforward thing to do, but you have to think through what kind of words you want to remove based on what sort of product you sell. So I'll show you what I mean. So when you're in your campaign, you go to the keywords area, and then you can look at a couple of things. You can look at what I would start with is look at your search terms and see what people are actively searching for. And I would always order this by the most clicks. I pay on a cost per click basis. You might also spend money with Google on a return on ad spend, and I don't actually like that. I don't find that's a good return on investment myself. I like cost per click. I need to know exactly what my break even is. So you will see here, based on click volume, what people are actually clicking on, and it's really important, to start with the highest clicked on, the most expensive keywords first, and make sure they are relevant and specific enough. And these will change seasonally. Obviously, greenhouses are very hot for a while, but not in the winter. What I look for is, these are quite general, but these are, for me, good converting keywords. And do look at the conversion, the cost per conversion, but also the conversion aisle here, column, and make sure that you're keeping track of which keywords are actually converting. What I've found is the more specific the search term, the better, and they call those long tail keywords. Steel storage shed is very specific, and if you happen to sell a steel storage shed, it's a very good chance that you're going to have a high click-through rate. You'll see the CTR here, and you'll get a lot of good qualified traffic and good conversions. You want to steer away from things that are more general, and I have this on my blog article at gravytrain.io. There's certain words like how to build a shed or phrases that are less useful to you. There's a lot of people that are looking for information, but they're not ready to buy. You can tell the ones that are ready to buy when they add words like steel 8x8 shed, a very specific. They know the size, they know what they want, and it's very specific. And so that is going to lead to higher conversions. If you have general, DIY shed, that's not really where you want to be. It's more like, garden shed for tools or something specific. So make sure you're specific. So you go and basically you look at your keywords, you look at your search terms, and if you see any of these, and I also say, for example, I don't want people that are searching for big box stores. I want, necessarily deals. So there's some people like Home Depot shed sale. That's very specific. There's sheds, Home Depot. I've excluded that one, for example. And when you want to exclude, you can just select that, and then you can set it as a negative keyword. Those are, for me, not great search phrases. And so once you've selected and assigned a negative keyword, they'll show up in your negative list here. And so you'll see there's a lot of, Canadian Tire, Costco. There's a lot of big box Lowe's. I'm not really interested in them. I found those don't convert for me, and for sheds, for example, and I stay away from them. So add negative keywords. That's huge. You could be spending a lot of money on low intent, non-specific keyword phrases, and you're just going to be throwing your money away. Item 2 for Google Shopping optimizations. Broad versus phrase versus exact match. So you should know the difference between these. I generally like phrase match. This means that steel shed, very specific, but you can have other words around it, but you need to see those two words in that order with quotes around them. You can go a broad match and just put keywords down, and you can put a plus sign in front of a word that has to be included as a requirement. So those are kind of the three ways. Just know what you're doing here. I tend towards phrase match. You might have an exact match option here and there, but it depends on your product. So just be aware of what you're buying. Broad match I generally steer away from unless you put plus signs and have specific words that you want to include. And yeah, so the next item, geotargeting. This is a kind of a hack for, again, high ticket drop shippers spend a lot of money on shipping. And so, for example, if you're in Canada and you've got a warehouse in Ontario, do you want to ship to British Columbia, far west coast, or do you want to go to the far east coast? Maybe not. And so geotargeting can save you a lot of money. So you can go down to the locations tab. And for example, I don't ship to northern Canada, like the Northwest Territories, Yukon, or Nunavut. I'd be wasting my money. So, you know, I would ship from, say, if I had a warehouse in Ontario and BC, these are good provinces for me. Same with the US. If you only have a warehouse on the West Coast, you might want to highlight the West Coast states. It'll save you a lot of money and your returns will go up. So think where your warehouses are. And again, I'm talking high ticket drop shippers. I'm not talking AliExpress here, because generally AliExpress is from offshore if you're targeting the US. But know where your warehouses are and cluster around them. It's just a smart way to increase your ROI. Day of the week scheduling. This is a lot more important than you think, and it has a huge impact on your sales. And you'll find, and if I sort by conversions here, you'll find Sundays and Mondays are the big days. Here's my theory on this, and then closely followed by Saturdays. You and your partner are home on Saturday. You get to discuss, hey, well, are we going to buy that shed? Where do we put it? How much are we going to spend? You think about it. You go out into the yard. You do some measurements Sunday. Hey, okay, yeah, let's do it. We got room for the shed. Let's buy. And oh yeah, I'm gonna Google steel shed and 8x8, and then boom, there you go. There's your ad, and there's your conversion. So Sundays, Mondays, and Tuesdays. And also, so what you can do is, if fish where the fish are, right? Increase your bid adjustment. I got a 50% increase on Sundays because I know that's the best day. Mondays, 40% bid adjustment. This is my cost per click bid, and so I'm taking advantage of that. And not so much lower Wednesday, Thursday, midweek. People are in work mode. They're not looking at buying big ticket items during the week. They got enough on their plate. And Fridays typically not a huge day. It's sometimes Fridays I get some calls, and then on the Saturday or Sunday they buy. But Fridays it's debatable. In this case, I haven't bid up on Fridays, but maybe I will. So yeah, day of the week. That's the fourth tip. And then manual versus smart bid adjustment. This is an interesting one, and I personally am a control freak with my ad costs, and I like to know my cost per click. And if you don't know your maximum cost per click that you're willing to spend, then you should. I know I don't want to spend more, for example, than around 25 cents per click. And I know that if I spent much more than that, my margins would just decrease and too much. And there's a fine line here. So you want to also watch. There's a column in the overview area where you can see your share. Your share of your competitive share when you're bidding on a cost per click basis. And you want to think about, are you going to try and be number one, the top bidder? And you can get a sense for, are you going to win the bid every time and be the highest bidder? You're going to pay a lot more money, but maybe that's where the conversions are. So just think about that. The other thing too is devices is another one. You can also you can bid up on mobile phones. I mean, 60% of shopping these days, I believe, is on mobile phones. That said, I find if it's a big ticket item, people are more serious, they're spending more money, they're doing more intensive research, and there's more people on their computers. So you might want to bid up your computer device segment for Google Shopping. But again, that's just another thought. But do know your cost per click maximum. There is a smart bid adjustment which lets Google take their artificial intelligence software and they decide, you know, where you should be bid. I've tried that and my budget's gone crazy and I haven't seen the returns. And if you've got a, you know, you should always have a target cost per acquisition or a maximum cost per conversion that you're willing to spend. So be wary of what Google is telling you about that. And the other thing too is you should know, you know, if you make total profit, for example, my average sale price on a big ticket item is $1,500. I make 300, 400, say I make $300, call it profit. I could give away $150 of that, but if you know your conversion rate, if my conversion rate is 0.2% and I make $300, I can spend that. That's basically take your conversion rate times your total profit, $300 times 0.2%, and that's 60 cents a click. Is basically meaning you're going to spend all your money, all your profit is gone, but you know you can spend up to 60 cents a click. Now, I would prefer to spend 30 cents or 25 and take that, you know, half of that that $300 as profit. So just think about that calculation. Many people don't do the math. Take your total conversion rate, click conversion rate, and multiply it times your total profit per sale, and that'll be the most you'd ever want to spend on a cost per click basis. Hope that is helpful, and please subscribe. I'll keep churning out these videos, and any comments I'd love to get and help answer them. Thanks again, Chris from Gravy Train, and hope you're making money.